Hello, as you can see I'm on the road again, out on the Spyder, just riding around, and in this video I'm going to be riding north from Goulburn towards Marulan on the Hume Highway with no particular destination, just Sunday afternoon. So I jump on the bike. It's a nice sunny day, as you can see by the sky, temperatures in the 20s. So I just thought I'd jump on the Spyder and go for a ride, and over the next couple of clips I'll be talking to you about various things associated with either riding the Spyder or the roads I'm on, or something else related to motorcycles. We'll see what topics I cover as I come to each clip. So at the moment I'm just riding through Goulburn towards the edge of town. So these are the suburban streets around where I live, and as I said, it's a Sunday afternoon. It's a clear sunny day now. It was a bit overcast earlier in the morning, but the sun is out now, and it's I'd say the temperature's in the late 20s. It's I think about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't really look at the time. I just decided to get on the bike and go for a ride. We're in autumn in New South Wales, or in Australia now. Autumn officially begins on the 1st of March. Our seasons always begin on the 1st of the month, and allegedly that was, the reason for that was so that when the British soldiers were here in the early days of the colony, they knew when to change from their winter to summer uniforms. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's the folklore. So it's we're into autumn, and although the days in the morning can be a little dark and chilly, and the evenings can sometimes get a bit cool, the days are still fairly pleasant. Sometimes they start off a bit cloudy, but the sun soon burns the cloud off and it comes out warm and sunny like today. But at the end of this month, daylight saving will end, so the days will be getting darker earlier, and it might take a little bit longer for the sun to come up and for the days to be light as well. And I might talk about that in another video, but not this particular one. So as I mentioned before, as you've probably seen already, and if you haven't you certainly will do in the next few moments of this trip, Goulburn has several names, one of which is the City of Roundabouts. I'm not sure who it was that designed the roundabout and thought of it as a traffic management system, but we seem to have lots of them in Goulburn, and for the most part I think they do what they're meant to do. They keep the traffic flowing, rather than having traffic lights where vehicles are going to stop. You sort of navigate your way around the roundabout, and the law seems to be that the first on the roundabout goes first, and so the traffic generally does flow fairly well. The difficulty is when there are two-lane roundabouts, whether people know which lane to get in if they're going to exit the roundabout by going left, for example, going straight ahead, or making a 270-degree turn and going to their right. Obviously, if it's a two-lane roundabout and you're going to exit left, you get in the left lane. If you're going straight through, you can probably use either lane, and if you're going to make a right-hand exit, that is, make a 270-degree turn, then you need to be in the right-hand lane. Just coming on to the end of the main street, Auburn Street, and from here fairly shortly I'll be heading out of town along the Hume Highway, as I said, north towards the next nearest town, which would be Marulan, which I suppose technically Marulan is a village. I don't know how you decide whether something's a village or a town. Goulburn's a city and it has a population of about 24,000. I don't know what the population of Marulan is, but it's nowhere near that. If it was 2,000 or 3,000, I'd be surprised. But anyway, it's the next nearest town to the north of Goulburn. Here you can see the Hume Highway, or what was the Hume Highway, but it's now just Auburn Street and Lagoon Street. It's two lanes either way with a fairly wide median strip. And you see those crocodile teeth back there denoting a school. A couple of schools along this section of the road here. So all this is just, as I say, for me to be getting out of town. So I thought what I'd do is talk a bit about the Spyder in this video. So the bike I'm riding is a 2012 Can-Am Spyder RT Limited. Now the RT stands for Road Tourer, I'm pretty sure, and the RT speaks for itself, limited number. I'm not sure how many there were in the production run. In other times when they did limited numbers, they numbered each one and you were stitched into the stitching on the seat, so you knew how many there were, but I don't know how many there are in this one. As I said, this is the 2012 model, which had the 998 Nationally 1000cc engine with the 5-speed semi-automatic gearbox and the belt drive. The semi-automatic gearbox because it has no clutch, but in order to change up from first to second, third, fourth and fifth, for example, you need to use a little switch that's activated by your thumb on the left-hand switch gear. It's not necessary to close off the throttle to do so, but I do because it's good practice for when you ever get back on a two-wheeler with a clutch. So you just tap this and push the button with your thumb and the gear changes, and there is an indicator on the main screen of the bike to tell you what gear you're in. Now if you want to change down, there are two options. One is to use your first finger, is that your pointer finger or your index finger, whatever one that is, your first finger, and there's another little switch, if you like, or button that you push on the back of the left handlebar, and you just push that in and the bike will change down through the gears. But also, and this is where the semi-automatic part comes in, when you slow down, or that you close the throttle off and put your foot on the brake, or do either of those two things, the bike will sense that you are slowing down, and the computer systems will automatically change down into a lower gear, and they'll rev match so the engine doesn't sound like it's screaming. And so I generally let the bike do that by itself rather than me doing it. Occasionally I need to change down when I'm going up a hill, so then I use my finger and I again close off the throttle, because I think that's good practice for if you ever get back, if I ever ride a two-wheeler that has a clutch again. Now, speaking of two-wheelers, I also have a Suzuki Bergman 650 scooter. That lives in Tasmania, so I don't ride it when I'm in New South Wales, obviously, but when I'm in Tasmania and I'm riding it, I need to get myself back in the habit of, first of all, recognising there is no clutch because it has a CVT, or constantly variable transmission, but it also has a manual override, so that when you're out on the highway you can select the gears yourself by just pushing a button, and that gives you access to 6 gears rather than 5 as it normally shows, and the 6 gear is very good for fuel economy on the open road. In that case, you don't close the throttle off, you just push the button and it changes, and you can feel the changes taking place. And what you have to do is remember whether you're in manual mode or auto mode, because if you're in a manual mode and you then come into a city where you want, or a built-up area where you want the bike to manage its own affairs, you need to change into the auto mode so the CVT will apply. Anyway, getting back to the Spyder. So it's a 3-wheel machine, 2 wheels on the front, 1 wheel on the back. It's belt driven. The wheels on the front are about as wide apart as a small hatch. I'm thinking something like a Kia Picanto. It's about that wide across the front. So clearly, because it's that wide and because they are single wheels and they are independently suspended with what I think is called wishbone suspension and shock absorbers, this bike doesn't lean like a motorcycle. So there are some things that you need to get used to and learn about as you're riding this thing, which I'll come back to in a little while. I'll just talk about some of the features first of all. So we've got the 5-speed semi-automatic belt-driven transmission in the 1000cc, I think it's parallel twin. Not long after this model was released, which was 2012, so it might have been the next upgrade, 2014, I think. BRP, which stands for Bombardier Recreational Products, decided they would increase the engine size to 1330 and make it an inline 3, and they also decided to increase the size of the gearbox from 5 to 6. Now, I don't suggest that my bike suffers any lack of power. As you can see now, I'm about to join the main Hume highway, and I'm easily up to 100 kilometres and put the cruise control on, and it manages the speed, and it has plenty of power and pulls away from the lights and all those sort of things quite well, and there's plenty of torque. But the decision to increase the engine size and make the gearbox a transmission a 6-speed, I think, was better for fuel economy. In the sense that this bike is a little bit thirsty. I'm thinking 7.5 to 8 litres per 100 kilometres, and I think with a bigger engine and a better transmission, the fuel consumption might have come down a little bit. It has this model an alphabet of acronyms of safety features. It has ABS and EFD, which I think is electronic force distribution, or EBD, it might be electronic brake distribution. So there is only one brake pedal, which is on the right hand side in front of the right peg, obviously. There are no levers on the handlebars. There's no front brake lever. There's just one brake lever, one brake pedal that links the two front discs and the rear disc, and the braking is evenly distributed between those wheels as necessary, as detected by the computers in the system, in the bike, and so on. So ABS and EBD, traction control, DPS, which is dynamic power steering. Now this bike dry weighs 450 or thereabouts kilos. It has a 25 litre fuel tank, of which you need to put either 95 RON or 98 RON. It is absolutely no point in putting E10 in it, because the fuel economy would just be useless. It would just burn through that fuel. The reason why E10 and 95 and 98 are more expensive is because you get more kilojoules of energy per litre of petrol. But in this bike performs much better with the 95 and the 98 in terms of fuel economy than it would on the 91. So you've got to put the premium fuels in it. So that 25 litre tank makes another 25 or thereabouts kilos of weight, and then if you put me on it as 80 kilos, you're looking at something like 550 kilos to be moving along. So it's quite a heavy bike. Not that, again, I'm not suggesting by any means that the engine's not up to it or the transmission up to it. I'm up to easily sitting on 100 kilometres an hour here with the cruise control on, and it's not struggling in any way. It has electronic cruise control, proper cruise control like you have in your car. You just set it and forget it, but it's not adaptive cruise control. In other words, you set it and it stays at that speed, and if the vehicle in front of you slows down, you've got to disengage it. Not like some modern cars where they have cameras at the front. They detect the speed of the vehicle in front, they detect that it's slowing down, they keep cruise control on, but they reduce your speed. This bike doesn't do that. It has a whole host of safety features that are designed to keep the rider stable and safe on the road, but I don't want to suggest by any means that it's self-drive or auto-drive, or you can just sort of sit back, kick back and let the bike do its own thing, because you as the rider obviously are still responsible for managing the bike on your own safety and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if we'll ever get complete self-drive cars, and I'm not sure even if we do that's necessarily a good idea. And again, I don't think we'll ever get, maybe we will, but whether that's a good idea or not is self-drive motorcycles. We tend to take a little bit of the thrill out of motorcycling if the bike was just going to drive itself and you sat back and read a book or something. So anyway, you still have to be conscious that you're on the road and it's your motorcycle and you're in charge of it. Now, coming back to riding the motorcycle, I should have said this in the beginning. As far as the registration and licensing and insurance authorities are concerned in Australia, this is a motorcycle, even though it's got three wheels. You have to have a motorcycle licence to ride one, and you must wear a helmet. The Spyders are not learner legal. If you want something like this that is learner legal, you've got to look at the Ryker, that's spelled R-Y-K-E-R, and it's made by the same company, made by Can-Am. It's a smaller, more reduced version reduced in terms of the body size and the footprint of the machine and so on, but the principle is still the same. Two wheels at the front, belt driven. It has a CVT instead of a semi-automatic transmission, and the learner legal one is only 600, so obviously the engine is half the size of the engine in the new model 1330s, but it gives you the same sort of riding experience and the same sort of stability, and as far as I know, has most of the same safety features. It is available in a 900 and a 900 Sport, but they're not learner legal. Now, I've seen lately that you can take some courses to learn to ride these machines in order to qualify for a motorcycle license. You would get an endorsement on your license like you do if you take the test on a scooter. You get an automatic endorsement on your car if you take your driving test in an automatic car. If you take your motorcycle test on a scooter, you get a motorcycle license, but it's endorsed scooter only or automatic only, so you can only ride scooters. So if you take the testing on a Ryker or on a three-wheeler, then you'll get an endorsement that says you can only ride one of these three-wheelers. I don't know how that stands you with the ones with the wheel in the front and one wheel in the front and the two at the back, because they're generally manual transmissions. I don't know how that stands with that. So that's the setup. It has an electrically adjustable screen which has a fair degree of travel in terms of up and down. I'm not exactly sure how many millimetres that is, but it does have a fair degree of travel. I generally keep the screen in the lowest position because I like the airflow coming over the screen into my face. I also keep my helmet open because I like the airflow onto my face. I've never eaten a bug, but you can obviously put the screen up if you want less wind in your face and perhaps a little less turbulence behind you. As I said, keep it down because I find it gives me good airflow, and I don't find that because of the design of the front of the bike and the fairing and the guards that are around the hands and the leg shields and so on, I don't find that I have much pressure on my shoulders or my chest or my arms, not like I would have had on my Bergman scooter, where you can also lower the screen. So if you're out on the highway at 110, you get a fair bit of blowback wind pressure on your chest. So putting the screen up there does alleviate that, but you don't have that problem so much in the riding on the Spyder. These bikes, the RT is designed for, as I said, it's a road tour, so it's designed for being on roads like this, doing touring activities. It's not really, you wouldn't buy these bikes for the daily commute, or you certainly wouldn't buy this one for the daily commute. I'm told by one of a dealer that I spoke to once that the Rikers were designed for the daily commute, and I say that because the bikes are big, they have a big footprint, they're heavy, they use a little bit more fuel than you might like. They can't lane filter and lane split just because of the size of them, so they're not really an advantage if you're doing a daily commute of 30 or 40 kilometres a day. The Rikers aren't really, but they're just much smaller because they're a 600, so they're more fuel efficient. But this one is designed for touring. It has heated grips for the rider. It has heated hand grips for the passenger. It has a built-in audio system which allows you to play AM and FM radio. You can also plug your phone in through a multi-pin plug and then a 3.5mm plug that goes in the headphone jack and play music off the radio that way. Or what I do is I have one of those Bluetooth transmitters and I plug it into a 12-volt socket, and it connects to an FM frequency, and I play music which I have stored on a SD card as well. Alright, so we're almost at the end of this first clip, and thanks for watching. I hope I've given you some useful and interesting information about the Spyder. If you'd like to know more on my channel, you'll find lots more videos about the Spyder. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the scenery and my commentary, and I will talk to you again in the next clip.